Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Gumansing. Topping our newscast on Thursday, Senator Terrence Positive Nelson fired back at critics of his industrial hemp legislation. Bill number 31-0100 did not get the needed votes at a Senate hearing on Wednesday to move forward and be reviewed by the full Senate body. Nelson expressed concern that a critical testifier during that hearing made unfair statements. NEWS2's April Knight has that story.
My bill was dealt a blow yesterday. The people of the territory was dealt a blow yesterday.
That's Senator Terrence Positive Nelson reacting to the Senate Rules Committee's decision on Wednesday to table his industrial hemp legislation. Nelson, along with Senators Clifford Graham, Tregenza Roach, and Myron Jackson, sponsored Bill number 31-0100, which would allow the growing and commercial sale of hemp by local farmers. But the bill sustained attacks by Attorney General Claude Walker, who said it violates federal laws against commercial hemp and could expose local farmers to federal prosecution. Nelson, however, said the federal government has made certain allowances.
21 U.S.C. 823, again, this is a federal allowance for private farmers to petition the DEA for permits for growing hemp and or some form of cannabis.
In Wednesday's hearing, the Attorney General took a position on marijuana, saying his office is concerned that Nelson's bill could be a gateway legislation to fully legalizing it. Nelson now accuses the Attorney General of bias.
And that concerns me that our Attorney General, because of his bias, can sit in a public forum and make unfounded, unsubstantiated statements on record. And what's even more surprising, and was able to influence supposedly sensible senators who did their research to not vote in favor.
Senator Nelson also stressed that the industrial hemp bill is not just his bill.
That bill was based on a referendum supported by 57%.
According to Nelson, in spite of biases and party politics, it's not the end of the line for industrial hemp in the Virgin Islands. Reporting for News 2, I'm April Knight.
Be sure to count on 2. We will certainly keep you updated on this controversial legislation. Turn our attention to crime reports. On Wednesday, February 17th at 11 a.m., Malachi George, 31 of Anna's Retreat, turned himself in and was arrested based on a warrant. He is charged with the September 7th, 2012 murder of 29-year-old David Payne. On Friday, September 7th, 2012, at roughly 10:30 p.m., the Major Crime Unit had responded to a residence located in Anna's Retreat where an unresponsive black male was discovered. The victim has sustained multiple gunshot wounds above the body and was later identified. George was initially charged with first-degree murder, second-degree murder, first-degree assault, third-degree assault, use of a dangerous weapon during the commission of a crime of violence, and reckless endangerment. Bail was set at $500,000. Senator Novell Francis Jr. will be hosting the first annual Crime Symposium on Tuesday, February 23rd. That symposium, titled Breaking the School to Prison Pipeline, will be held at the Great Hall on the University of the Virgin Islands St. Croix campus from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Francis says he hopes to stimulate better practices designed to target those at-risk youth who are more prone to go straight from the school system into the criminal justice system. Featured presenter Dr. Kimberly Mills, who is the Associate Director of the UVI Center for Excellence in Developmental Disabilities. A variety of government and community agencies are expected to participate in the day-long symposium. Senior District Court Judge Raymond Finch sentenced today Rodney Stanley, 30, who is an inmate at the Golden Grove Adult Correctional Facility on St. Croix, to 1 month of imprisonment for possession of prison contraband. By law, the sentence of imprisonment must be consecutive to the sentence he is currently serving for voluntary manslaughter. On October 9, 2015, Stanley pleaded guilty to 1 count of possession of prison contraband. As part of his plea, Woods admitted that on November 15, 2012, while he was an inmate at Golden Grove, he possessed a cellular telephone, which was hidden in his cell in the head of his mattress. Also, District Court Judge Curtis Gomez sentenced Tashimo Scatliff, 33, to 120 months imprisonment and 3 years of supervised release for possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. On October 20th, 2015, Scatliff pleaded guilty to possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. According to the plea agreement filed with the court, on February 2nd, 2015, VIPD officers responded to a domestic disturbance at the Paul M. Pearson Housing Community on St. Thomas. Upon arrival, officers observed Scatliff leaving the building where the call had originated. The complainant confirmed that Scatliff was in possession of a firearm. Police searched the area and located a firearm and a spent casing. In addition, Scatliff's DNA was found on the firearm, and he is a convicted felon. Also, at the Senate on St. Croix on Wednesday, the Rules and Judiciary Committee considered two bills. Bill number 31-0084 relating to speeding on the territory's roads. That was passed by the committee. Also on the agenda was Bill 31-0118. That bill pertains to mandatory minimum sentences for those convicted of unauthorized possession, bearing, and transporting of a firearm. That bill, however, was held in committee until a later date because the public defender could not attend the rules hearings. In other news, there's plenty of activity, both public and behind the scenes, as the territory continues to fight the Zika outbreak. It's the 8th week since the first case was reported, and the number of reported cases have risen. NEWS2's April Knight speaks to a CDC medical advisor on what the numbers mean for the territory. Here's more.
From one reported and confirmed case of Zika infection, the territory now has 61 reported cases. That's according to a VI Health Department update on Tuesday. St. Croix presents the bulk of reported cases, 41 in total. St. Thomas has 20, while St. John remains clear. But according to the Centers for Disease Control, not all 61 cases are Zika confirmed.
Reported means that they're cases that have had symptoms consistent with Zika, and we do not have lab tests. We do or do not have lab testing back on them yet.
In fact, 11 tested negative in lab tests, and some 39 cases are still awaiting lab results.
Now, if you do your math, there are some that we believe are suspect cases, but blood was not drawn. So that's why you have the discrepancy, 51 lab samples and 61 suspected cases.
And even though the VI Health Department initially stated that pregnant women in their first trimester are especially vulnerable to the effects of Zika, the CDC urges all pregnant women to take precautions. According to Baden, the VI seems to be in the early stages of the spread of the virus, and the peak period is still to come.
The way that outbreaks work, you have a small number of cases, and that gradually increases until you've got enough protection through the community from people who are immune after being sick or who have received a vaccine or something like that. And then it will peak at a certain point, and then it will decrease again. We suspect that we were very early in the course of that.
Recently, Governor Kenneth Mapp met with EPA Regional Director Judith Enck, who told him to put a list of needs together as the U.S. Human Services Department is setting aside $200 million to help local governments fight Zika. Reporting for NEWS2, I'm April Knight.
Now, the Virgin Islands Department of Health is still awaiting the results of additional Zika tests from the CDC, which is helping the department set up an emergency operations center. Turn our attention overseas. With just 2 days until the South Carolina Republican primary, GOP presidential contenders are making last-minute pitches to voters with back-to-back town halls hosted by CNN. Meanwhile, the Democrats are making a final push in Nevada, which holds its Democratic caucuses the same day, and new polling indicates a very tight race. Reed Binion reports.
In a state known for making the odds, the numbers ahead of Saturday's Nevada Democratic caucuses are too close to call. Bernie Sanders is hoping to build momentum following his win in last week's New Hampshire primary.
Everything in my political gut tells me that we have the momentum here in this state.
But Hillary Clinton says the smart money is on her for a silver state win.
We're going to go out and we're going to convince people to caucus on Saturday. Then we're going on to South Carolina.
A new CNN ORC poll suggests that Sanders and Clinton are in a dead heat, with 48% of likely caucus goers saying they support Clinton and 47% backing Sanders. Clinton has an edge on a range of top issues, but the poll results suggest that divided opinions on the economy are responsible for the tight race. Another factor, race itself, as the nominating contests shift from states like Iowa and New Hampshire to states with more diverse electorates. Sanders is getting support from the daughter of Eric Garner, who was killed in a confrontation with New York police in 2014.
I think we need to believe in a leader like Bernie Sanders.
The African American community knows that on any given day, some innocent person like Sandra Bland can get into a car, and then 3 days later, she's going to end up dead in jail.
But while Sanders invoked Sandra Bland, Clinton got the backing of Bland's own mother.
I have been blessed to be able to introduce this fantastic lady right here to my right.
I'm Reed Binion reporting.
Keeping our eye on the economy, let's take a look at the stock market watch at the New York Stock Exchange. Everything down. The Dow down 40, NASDAQ 46, S&P 500 also down at 8. Coming up on News 2, time for our Black History quiz. Who was the National Security Advisor to the Bush presidency in 2001 and eventually the U.S. Secretary of State until 2009? The answer coming up next. Governor Kenneth Mapp is traveling to the National Governors Association's annual meeting. Each year, NGA holds its annual meeting in Washington, D.C., and meetings with federal officials to include the president and White House staff. They're typically incorporated into that program. The governor will return to the territory on February 25th, 2016, with Lieutenant Governor Osbert Potter serving as the acting governor in his absence. Meanwhile, Governor Kenneth Mapp signed an executive order on Wednesday providing housing for the lieutenant governor. The funds will be taken out of the budget of the lieutenant governor's office. The governor's signing of the executive order bypasses Senate approval, essentially making a decision on a topic that has been in debate for some time. Whether or not the law provides for housing for the second chief executive, according to Government House, the executive order continues the territory's tradition of providing housing for the lieutenant governor. The order states that the VI Department of Property and Procurement shall assist in securing any housing. Senate President Neville James wrote a letter to the Department of Public Works on Wednesday voicing concerns about the deplorable condition of the roadway in the Gallows Bay and Altoona Lagoon areas of the island of St. Croix. In the letter addressed to DPW Commissioner Gustav James, the senator in his letter acknowledged that historically, Gallows Bay area has always been prone to flash flooding due to its proximity to the shoreline and its century-old drainage system. James' letter also addressed the condition of the roads within the Altoona Lagoon Park itself. Count on 2 to keep you updated. The Commissioner of the Department of Licensing and Consumer Affairs, Devin Carrington, announces a drop in gas prices that's monitored weekly. The cost has gone down almost 10 cents. Gas retailers, he says, are asked to support loyal consumers by aiming to provide the best costs in gas and improved services. Consumers are able to compare prices week to week by visiting the DLCA's Careful Consumer Facebook page. Also, the commissioner applauds outstanding citizens reporting on overpriced or mispriced items like this posting, a consumer post right there, strawberries priced at $20.99. DLCA was tagged in that post. And the public may continue to send pictures and make reports directly to the department, as well as the DLCA Careful Consumer Facebook page. They will review reports and photos that can be posted for direct access by departments, inspectors, and enforcement officers, so be sure to log on. Yesterday, we reported that the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services has approved the plan of correction submitted by the Juan Luis Hospital as a condition of the compliance status granted to the hospital. According to Juan Luis officials, specifically, CMS officials are requiring the hospital to submit monthly status reports on the installation of extensions of its sprinkler system for the next 3 months as part of that plan of correction. They're also asking for a letter of completion once the sprinkler extension project is finished. The Villa Lorraine Fish Market was built to create a clean, secure, and convenient location for fishermen and customers to connect for the selling and buying of local seafood products. However, the facility has not been in use for years. St. Croix Senator Kenneth Gittens is spearheading efforts of his colleagues in organizing a town hall meeting that will focus on getting updates from government officials and having discussions with community stakeholders and the fishing community about the troubled Lorraine Fish Market. That town hall meeting is scheduled to be held 6 p.m. Monday, February 22nd at the Curriculum Center in Kingsville. Many government officials will be in attendance. St. Thomas USVI IGY Marina's community outreach initiative entitled Inspire Giving Through You continues on Saturday, February 20th. Two teams of volunteers led by Mike Revier, General Manager of American Yacht Harbor, and Charlie Irons, Director of Operations of Yacht Haven Grand. They will arrive to perform work projects at the St. Thomas Swimming Association in Red Hook and the Boys and Girls Club in Oswald Harris Court. It will be more than just a facelift. The projects are designed to improve health and safety conditions, such as ceiling fans at the Boys and Girls Club and the anti-slip component of the painted surfaces of the pool deck and bathroom floors. They will be repainting those surfaces with non-slip coating. Well, time for the answer to our Black History quiz. Condoleezza Rice was born on November 14, 1954 in Birmingham, Alabama. She grew up surrounded by racism in the segregated South. Raised by her minister father and school teacher mother, Condoleezza's father held a position at the University of Denver, earning her BA in only a couple of years. She went on to receive a master's degree from the University of Notre Dame in political science, which saw her as an instant candidate to work for the United States Department. By the time she was 26, she had earned her PhD in political science from Denver. Following, she worked at Stanford University, and Dr. Rice soon became provost. Rice was in charge of the school's multi-billion-dollar endowment. She became National Security Advisor to the Bush presidency in 2001. She became Bush's National Security Advisor in 2004. And with the resignation of Colin Powell, Condoleezza Rice became the U.S. Secretary of State until 2009. Students at the John H. Woodson Junior High School are fascinated about robots. 7th grade teachers Karen Tyson, Science, and Janae Williams, they started the John H. Woodson Junior High Robotics Club 2 years ago to fulfill their students' educational interests and to propel them into the next generation. It is a Department of Education initiative to allow the students to experience extracurricular STEM, which is the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics concepts. They say in order to prepare them to compete against robotics teams in Puerto Rico and eventually in the U.S. mainland. The Robotics Club came into existence from a workshop with consultants from Austin, Texas. We're here now from 7th grade student Kenesha Charles.
With these sensors, like the light sensor right here, it helps us understand where is it going and where is it able to stop. And also, it is programmed. We can also program it using computer.
Good job there by the students. Digital Learning Day was well attended. Attendees were invited to attend one or as many as desired, and 26 certificates of participations were earned. That's according to its website. Digital Learning Day was started in 2012 with the intent of allowing educators to network on ways to increase the use of technology programs in the schools and improve student performance. That Digital Learning Day is not about technology, it's about learning. Coordinator, curator, and VINGN Community Program Manager Anita Davis was thrilled, she said, to return to the Charles Turnbull Regional Library, where she had been stationed as the PCC site manager for 2 years. Great job there. Stick around, your News 2 AccuWeather forecast is coming up next.